Every morning, millions of people do the same thing. They open the cabinet, grab a calcium pill, maybe stack it with a vitamin D capsule, and swallow it down with a glass of water. It feels responsible. It feels like something a healthy person does. And for most of them, it never crosses their mind that this tiny white tablet might be quietly wrecking the one organ that has to deal with every milligram of it, their kidneys. Here is what most people get wrong. When you hear kidney-destroying supplement, your brain probably jumps to creatine or protein powder. Those are the usual suspects, but calcium supplements are taken by over 40% of American adults, and over that same period, kidney stone rates have climbed nearly 70%. That is not a coincidence. And the reason comes down to something almost nobody talks about. The calcium in a supplement and the calcium in food are chemically identical, but biologically they are opposites. Your body evolved to receive calcium slowly, bound up in food, released bit by bit during digestion. A supplement does the opposite. It dumps 500 to 1,000 milligrams into your bloodstream in one concentrated wave. Your kidneys have to deal with that wave, and they were never designed for it. This is not anti-supplement fear-mongering. This is pharmacokinetics, the science of how a substance actually moves through your body. And today, we are going to follow that calcium pill on its entire journey. From the moment it dissolves in your stomach, through the spike it creates in your blood, into the delicate filters of your kidneys, and down the path that leads to stones, scarring, and permanent damage. Then we are going to look at why adding high-dose vitamin D makes every step worse, and why food calcium does the exact opposite, actually protecting the kidneys from the very stone supplements cause. By the end, you will understand the precise biological reason these two forms of the same mineral have completely different effects on your body. Let us follow the pill from the moment you swallow it. That calcium pill hits your stomach and starts dissolving almost immediately. Calcium carbonate, the most common form, needs stomach acid to break apart. Calcium citrate dissolves even without it. Either way, within about 30 minutes, free calcium ions are flooding into your small intestine and getting absorbed into your bloodstream. Here is the problem. When you eat a piece of cheese or a bowl of yogurt, the calcium in that food is trapped inside a matrix of fat, protein, and phosphorus. Your gut has to break all of that down first, and that takes time. The calcium trickles into your blood slowly, spread across hours. A supplement skips all of that. 500 to 1,000 milligrams of pure calcium, no matrix, no slow release, dumped into your bloodstream in one concentrated wave. Your body has a normal range for blood calcium, between 8.5 and 10.5 milligrams per deciliter. That range is tightly controlled because calcium does not just build bones. It triggers muscle contractions, nerve signals, and blood clotting. Too much or too little, and those systems malfunction. When a supplement bolus hits, your serum calcium pushes toward the upper end of that range or beyond it. Your parathyroid glands sense the spike and try to dial things down. They release calcitonin, a hormone that tells your bones to stop releasing calcium and tells your kidneys to flush the excess. But here is what most people do not realize. Your body has no short-term storage for surplus calcium in the blood. There is no buffer tank, no overflow valve. Every milligram your bones do not need and your cells cannot use has exactly one exit, your kidneys, and your kidneys have no choice but to deal with it. Each of your kidneys contains roughly 1 million tiny filtering units called nephrons. Together, they filter about 180 liters of blood every single day. Normally, when calcium passes through these filters, your kidneys are incredibly efficient at reclaiming it. They reabsorb about 98% of filtered calcium back into the blood because under normal conditions, calcium is precious. The body does not want to waste it. But when a supplement spike sends a surge of calcium through the bloodstream, the reabsorption system hits a ceiling. The proximal tubules, the section of each nephron responsible for pulling calcium back, simply cannot keep up. The excess passes through and ends up in your urine. This is called hypercalciuria. More than 300 milligrams of calcium in your urine per day for men, more than 250 for women. And hypercalciuria is not just a lab number. It is the single strongest risk factor for calcium-based kidney stones, which make up roughly 80% of all kidney stones. One major clinical trial followed over 36,000 women taking calcium and vitamin D supplements. The result was a 17% increase in kidney stone risk, not because calcium is toxic, because the supplement form delivers it in a way the kidneys were never built to handle. Think of it this way. Your kidneys are designed to process a gentle stream. What the supplement sends is a flash flood. The filters work harder, the tubules saturate, and the surplus calcium pours into your urine with nowhere safe to go. That is what happens in the short term. A single spike, a single flush, and your kidneys recover. But most people do not take one calcium pill once. They take it every day, for months, for years, and that is when the real damage begins. All that excess calcium sitting in your urine is not just passing through harmlessly, it is looking for a partner, and it finds one. Oxalate. Oxalate is a natural waste product that comes from foods like spinach, nuts, chocolate, and your own metabolism. Normally, there is just enough of it in your urine to be filtered out without issue. But when calcium levels in the urine are abnormally high, calcium and oxalate find each other inside the renal tubules and bind together, forming crystals. Calcium oxalate crystals, the most common type of kidney stone on Earth. These crystals form when the concentration of both calcium and oxalate exceeds what the fluid can hold in solution. The technical term is supersaturation. Think of it like dissolving sugar in water. At some point, you add one more grain, and instead of dissolving it, just sits at the bottom. That is what happens inside your kidney. The fluid becomes so loaded with calcium and oxalate that crystals start dropping out of solution and stacking together. Small stones can pass on their own, painfully. Larger ones can lodge in the ureter, the narrow tube connecting each kidney to the bladder, and block urine flow entirely. When that happens, the kidney swells with backed up fluid. This is called hydronephrosis, and if it is not relieved, it causes acute kidney injury. But stones are the damage you eventually feel. There is another form of damage that stays silent: nephrocalcinosis. This is not a stone sitting in the drainage system. This is calcium phosphate depositing directly into the tissue of the kidney itself, into the working flesh of the organ. It shows up on a CT scan as a haze of white specks scattered through the kidney, and it means nephrons are being buried in mineral deposits. They stop filtering, they scar over, and they do not come back. The process can continue for years without a single symptom. No pain, no blood in the urine, no change you would notice. By the time your kidney function measurably drops on a blood test, the calcification is often irreversible. You have moved from healthy kidneys to chronic kidney disease and never felt the transition. And a major meta-analysis found the damage is not even limited to the kidneys. Calcium supplement users showed a 20 to 30% increased risk of cardiovascular events as well. The excess calcium is not just lodging in kidneys, it is depositing in arteries too. Now here is where it gets worse, because most people who take calcium supplements also take vitamin D. It is the most commonly promoted supplement pairing in wellness culture. Take your calcium with vitamin D for better absorption. That advice is technically correct and biologically dangerous. Vitamin D in its active form increases the production of calcium transport proteins in your intestinal lining. These proteins are the gates that allow calcium to cross from your gut into your blood. Under normal vitamin D levels, your gut absorbs roughly 30% of the calcium you eat. But when you megadose vitamin D, which has become incredibly common at 5,000 to 10,000 IU per day, those gates swing wide open. Absorption jumps to 60 or even 70%. That means every single milligram of calcium you take in, from food and from supplements, now hits your bloodstream in much higher quantities. The spike gets bigger, the kidneys get more overloaded, the urine gets more saturated, and the stone and scarring risk multiplies. The supplement stack people trust the most for bone health creates a biochemical feedback loop that specifically punishes the kidneys. And none of it shows up on a standard blood test until the damage is well underway. So, if supplement calcium destroys kidneys, should you avoid calcium entirely? No. And this is the part that makes the biology genuinely beautiful. Dietary calcium, the calcium in milk, yogurt, cheese, sardines, fortified foods, and leafy greens, does not increase kidney stone risk. It lowers it. A landmark study tracking over 45,000 men found that those who ate the most dietary calcium had a 34% lower risk of kidney stones than those who ate the least. The reason is oxalate. Remember, oxalate is the binding partner that turns excess urinary calcium into stones. When you eat calcium-rich food, the calcium meets oxalate in your gut during digestion. They bind together right there in the intestine, forming a harmless compound that passes out in your stool. That oxalate never reaches your bloodstream. It never reaches your kidneys. The food calcium acts like a bodyguard, neutralizing the threat before it even gets close to the organ it would damage. Supplements skip this entirely. When you swallow a calcium pill on an empty stomach, which is what most people do, there is no food in the gut, no oxalate to bind, no protective interaction. The calcium absorbs alone and heads straight for the blood. Even taken with a meal, the concentrated bolus does not replicate the slow embedded release of food calcium. The pill and the food contain the same element, same atomic number, same mineral, but the delivery system changes everything. One protects your kidneys, the other overwhelms them. So here is what you actually do with all of this. Get your calcium from food. A cup of yogurt gives you about 300 milligrams. A glass of milk, another 300. A serving of sardines with the bones, roughly 350. Add some broccoli or fortified orange juice, and you are at your 1,000 to 1,200 milligram daily target without a single pill. And every milligram from those foods is actively trapping oxalate in your gut before it ever reaches your kidneys. The supplement does the opposite. If you genuinely cannot get enough calcium from food and supplementation is medically necessary, take the smallest effective dose. Never more than 500 milligrams at a time. Always with a meal, so there is at least some oxalate binding happening in your gut. And vitamin D, get your blood levels tested before you start taking large doses. Sufficiency is the goal. That means 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter. Not 80, not 100. Sufficiency. Every unit above what you need is widening the gates for more calcium to flood your blood and pour through your kidneys. If you have been supplementing calcium for months or years, ask for a urinary calcium test. It is simple, it is cheap, and it tells you whether your kidneys have been silently overloaded this entire time. Think back to that morning routine. The cabinet door, the white pill, the glass of water. It felt like responsibility. It felt like health. But now you understand what that pill actually is. A concentrated calcium spike aimed directly at 1,000,000 tiny filters that were never designed to handle it. The same hand that reaches for a glass of milk or a tin of sardines is sending that identical mineral through a completely different pathway, one that protects those filters instead of overwhelming them. Same element, same atomic number, but the delivery changes everything. The nutrient is not just what you take, It is how your body receives it.